Hey, what's up guys? My name is Daniel Lopez with Invest in You Finance, and today we are going to be talking about financial independence, retire early, and what that means to me. People call it FIRE, and if you guys are new to the channel, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Please check out my other videos, and let's get back into what we're going to be talking about today. So, a lot of people are asking me, how do you retire early? So for me, what financial independence retire early means is to be able to stop working and live off of the money that you've accumulated and either saved or invested. In my case, I invested it. So just like when people retire when they're 60 years old, they built up a retirement account and then they're going to have to start withdrawing from that account so they can live and pay their monthly expenses. It's the same thing with financial independence and retiring early, except you accelerate that retirement fund, but that retirement fund is just your normal, for me, it's just my normal stock brokerage account, because when you are financial independent and you retire early, you need to be able to withdraw that money. So independent for my 401k, I have a stock brokerage account that has the money that I'm going to be using to live off of. So I'm just gonna, show an example of how someone with $1 million would want to live their financial independent life. So if you have $1 million, you're basically going to want to be living off of this rule, which is called the 4% rule. And the 4% rule basically states that you can withdraw 4% of this $1 million for the next 30 years without losing your principal. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense, because if you have this $1 million invested in the stock market, and the stock market is yielding about a 7 to 10% annual rate of return, then that means that by just having this $1 million inside the stock market, it's growing. If it's at 7 to 10%, then that means every year that's $70,000 to $100,000 that the $1 million is growing. So from that money, you can pull out $40,000. And this will be the money that you will be living off of every year, which comes out to be, I think, like around $3,333 per month. So that's how much money you're going to be using to live off of. And this $1 million is going to stay in your brokerage account. So depending how you want to do it, you're going to be withdrawing the $40,000 every year, or you can withdraw $3,333 every month, or however you plan on doing it. So becoming financially independent and quitting your job and living off of the money that you've saved up, it requires a lot of planning. So just think about your bills, your monthly expenses, all that, and figure out what your number needs to be. Because maybe your expenses are high and maybe you need more money every month so that way you can live your life normally. Maybe you need 2 million, and if you have 2 million, then this number just doubles, and this amount of $40,000 would double to $80,000. So every individual person is going to come up with their own retirement number. I'm 35 right now, and this is, close to the number that I'm using. So that means that my monthly expenses are, max $3,333. And this is just pulling out 4%. When you become financially independent, you're not really following a specific, set of guidelines. You're your own person and you basically do whatever you want with your money. However, this is just saying, okay, if you have $1 million at the 4% rule, you can pull out $40,000 a year annually, and your money will basically allow you to do that for the next 30 years. So if I'm 35 and I do this, I'll be 65. At that point, I got my retirement accounts. I can pull out from my 401k. I can pull out when I turn 59 and a half. So this money will just allow me to live my life until I'm able to pull out from my retirement accounts. And of course, being financially independent, quitting your 9-to-5 job or quitting your corporate job doesn't mean you're never going to work again. You decide what you want to do. If you want to, take on a side hustle, start a business, or do something else, quitting your corporate job allows you to focus on other things that, you might be passionate about. So this is just an example. I mean, if you want to, you could just say, okay, I have $1 million and the stock market gives me 7 to 10%. I'm just gonna be a little bit more risk taking, and I'm just going to live off of, let's say, $100,000. So $100,000 divided by 12, that would be your monthly max. And you would just figure that out. So typically, when you reach financial dependence, you are going to want to have your expenses as low as possible. So you're going to try and have a very low mortgage. You're going to try and have no car payment, if any. And you're going to try and just bring down those expenses. Just because you have to budget within your personal number. Otherwise, this money is just going to go down, and before you know it, you're going to run out, and then, worst case, you have to go back to work, or you have to find some way to get that income back. So it takes a lot of planning and strategic thinking about what you want to do. And that's if the market performs well. For example, right now we're at like a 25% correction in the stock market. So this $1 million is no longer $1 million. It's $750,000. So 4% of this is $30,000. And if you divide the $30,000 by 12 months, you get $2,500. And that's because, the market's in a correction. The S&P 500 is down around 25% or 20 For the example, I just put 25%. So if you're following the 4% rule, this year you may have to cut back and only take out $30,000, which would leave your budget at $2,500. But say you were budgeting for, $3,333. Well, that means that when you pull out the $40,000, you're not pulling it out from $1 million, because the $1 million just dipped to $750,000. And because it dipped, you're gonna have less money. So these are the things that you're gonna see when you reach your financial independence, that you're gonna have to think about. Like, oh, okay, well, what am I gonna do? Let's just say you have your budget maxed out at this number. Well, you're gonna have to pull out that amount, the 40,000, and you're just gonna have to see if the market recovers and what happens. But like I said, this is just 7 to 10% on average. So, some years, like I think back in 2018 or 19, the S&P 500 was up, 20%. So if it was up 20%, that means that million would be $200,000. So there's no right or wrong way, but you do have to keep looking at your pool of money, because this pool of money is going to keep you afloat. And if you don't have a side hustle, or if you don't have a business, or you don't have extra income coming in, you really have to focus on your budget. So this is just something to consider. And people were asking me, okay, how would you live off $1 million? Okay, well, the answer is I would live off the 4% rule and only take out 4%. So if the market dips, do I adjust the 4% to what I now have in my pool? It's up to you, because the market could dip 25%, but then within 6 months, maybe it goes up. And then it depends on your withdrawal strategy, because how you pull out this money will also determine how you're going to be taxed. If you pull out at the end of the year, like one lump sum, then you're going to be taxed. Hopefully you planned for long-term capital gains. And remember, long-term capital gains are based off of your income. And if you're married, there's a separate tax table for long-term capital gains and short-term capital gains. I believe if you are single and your income is $40,000, when you sell your stock is going to be added to your income, depending on how much gain. It starts getting really complicated, and you basically need tax calculators to figure out, okay, how much am I going to pay in taxes? But theoretically, if you had zero income and you had a capital gain, this is just all theoretical. If you had a capital gain you would have had to have sold more than $40,000 to have a capital gain of $40,000. So it starts getting confusing. So let's just say you invested $20,000, X amount of years ago, over a year ago, and you're gonna make another $20,000, and that means that your money grew from $20,000 to $40,000. You're going to be taxed on the $20,000 that it grew. And if you held that for longer than a year, it'll be long-term capital gains. Well, if you look at that tax bracket for long-term capital gains, if you make $0 to $40,000, you pay zero taxes on the money that you pulled out. And that's where learning taxes, it's not like complicated tax strategy. It's just knowing the basics. What are long-term capital gains? What are short-term capital gains? How much income do I have to make, to qualify for which bracket? So that's also a strategy you need to look into. How are you going to pull out your money to live off of, to figure out what tax strategy you're going to use. So, it gets to like, okay, are you going to pull out your first in, first out, last in, last out? Because when you're investing your money, for me, when I was investing my money for the past 10 years, I was putting money in, every paycheck, every month, anytime I had extra money, I was just putting it in. So I have money that I've put in all the way since 2011, all the way till now. So I get to choose which stock or which ETF I'm going to sell. And I'm going to choose that so that way it benefits me and my money can keep growing and things like that. I have some videos out there showing how taxes work and some strategies. So go ahead and check out those videos so you can see, it's just basic like tax knowledge. It's not like very complicated. And like I said, there are calculators out there that can help you plan for this and just help you wrap your mind around it. So it's all about crunching the numbers. And I'm a mechanical engineer. I love crunching the numbers. It's exciting to know, like, hey, if I crunch these numbers, let's see how it works out. And it's just calculating, every month to see where everything's, working out. Because you could start off pulling out $3,300 every month, but then you start seeing your account drop. So you're like, oh man, I got to adjust. Or hey, maybe I could start a business, or maybe I could do Uber or do Lyft or get some sort of income to add to the amounts of money that I'm pulling out. For me, I'm currently not pulling out anything of my pool of money. I was fortunate to start a business in 2020 while I was still working at my corporate job. And right now I'm just living off of the money that the business generates. So my pool is just continuing to grow. And by continuing to grow, that just means that the 4% that I get to pull out is increasing. So if it's $1 million and I'm pulling out 4%, then I could pull out $40,000 every year. But if that pool is growing and I'm not pulling anything out, then it's continuing to increase. Unless, there's a recession or there's a market correction, then the pool drops. But because I'm not pulling anything out, eventually it'll stabilize and, come back to the average 7 to 10%, or maybe it'll go up. But remember, you're constantly looking at that pool. Hopefully you have a business, a side hustle, something to, extra income. There's so many things you can do out there to make extra money because of, the internet, because of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, different things. And you just have to be creative and try and think of ways that you can make money. Ultimately, you're gonna wanna double down on the skills that you have or the hobbies that you do. People are interested in those things, and you can promote them on TikTok, or you could do things like that. So later on, I'll get into like my business and what I do and how I make my income, so I don't have to pull out from this pool of money. And I was able to quit my corporate job and just focus on, my business that I have. So this is just an example, and hopefully it makes sense. Once you start talking about taxes and, withdraw strategies from your individual stock brokerage account, it starts to get confusing. But remember, this is years of planning. When you set out to become financially independent and financially free, and you set out to retire early, you're doing the homework. You're watching YouTube videos. You're watching other people who've already done it, and you're seeing and learning from what they're doing. For me, I really didn't know about financial independence retiring early. I just had a goal in my mind. My goal is to have $1 million by the time I'm 35. And I was able to reach that when I was 34. I reached it when I was 33. But I just kept working and building up my pool of money. So that was just my goal. Then I started seeing people talk about this, and I'm like, well, yeah, if I have that much money saved up, what's the point of continuing to work? I personally, I really enjoyed my job that I used to work at, working in the oil field. Things got better as far as technology getting better, and we were able to start working from home, things like that. But after you do it, for so long, you start thinking about well, what else can I do? I want to basically get my time back to focus on things that I like doing. And for me, I like talking about numbers, talking about finance, talking about stocks, talking about how to make money. I like talking about those things. So I'm trying to help you guys understand what I've done to get to where I'm at. And I've done it so when I'm talking about this stuff, I know what I'm talking about. And it feels good to talk about this, because hopefully it can help you guys out. And if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Please smash the like button. Thank you so much for checking out my channel. Go check out my other videos. Like I said, I talk about taxes and how to reduce your tax bill when you work at your corporate job. Because as a W-2 employee, there are only so many things you can do to reduce your taxes. Real quick, you can reduce your taxes by contributing to your 401k. You can reduce your taxes by contributing to a health savings account. And there are other things, and I think I talk about them in the videos. But anyways, go check those videos out, guys. I appreciate you guys watching. Take care. Have a great rest of the year. And remember, invest in you so that way you can provide for your family, enjoy life, work on all the hobbies and things that you always wanted to do, and just become more financially independent. So hopefully this brought you guys value, and thanks again for coming. Take care. Bye-bye.